I've lost my daughter to opiates. I will be grieving forever.
There's no question that this is an epidemic.
My mom, she was a prostitute and a drug addict.
I want to just scream to God that this is not fair. Not only have I lost my daughter, I have to raise her child.
My own child called DCF to be removed because she couldn't stand it anymore.
The kids are collateral damage. I can't do this anymore.
The opioid crisis in Florida is creating an impossible home life for thousands of children. In this state, 60% of the kids removed from their homes last year were because of drugs. That is 4 times the amount from just 4 years ago. Some of those kids are lucky and they end up with relatives. The others are flooding a foster care system that is already strapped and running on a tight budget. Now, communities and families are struggling to raise this new generation of abandoned children.
Ari, let me go check and see if I have sausages, okay? So, this is how we start our day. I've had my coffee, I've been up for a little while. I'm gonna make him what he'll eat. My name is Carol. I am the mother of an addict. I am 66 and tired. Good morning.
And now a parent to her 8-year-old grandson, Ari, something she never imagined doing.
Jennifer was a bright spot for me. Personality, comedic talent. She could watch a commercial and she would have the whole family in stitches.
Jennifer was a good student, loved playing soccer, but she changed. She became an adult and found opioids.
When I asked you to tell me about Jennifer, I noticed you spoke about her in past tense. She was this person.
The heroin has changed her so much. She's unrecognizable to me because I choose to remember her the way that she was before.
But that's not the person Ari remembers as his mother.
He still remembers. He says, I remember when they used to hide their needles in my drawer where my clothes were. Do you want maple syrup with these? They don't come to you because they're perfect. They come to you because they've lived horrible things that no child should have to go through.
Like Carol, more than 2.6 million people are raising their grandkids across the country. That number is rising due to the opioid crisis.
I'm dreading the day that I have to tell him about his mom. I'm dreading that day because I don't know how I'm going to do it.
My name is Jessica DeNicolo. I am 36 years old. I have 2 daughters, and I'm an addict.
A doctor first prescribed Jessica pain pills after a car crash when she was 22.
My first drug dealer was a doctor, and I continued to see him on a monthly basis.
4 in 5 new heroin users started by misusing opioid pain relievers, just like Jessica. She began using heroin to self-medicate after her father's death in 2009.
If you would have told me when I first started using narcotics prescribed by my doctor that eventually I would get to a point where I was injecting heroin and other opiates into my veins, I would have said you were crazy. I used opiates in pill form that I bought off the street for several months after the birth of my daughter. When she was about 2, a couple months before that was when I was first introduced to IV drug use. Within 4 months of starting to inject opiates and cocaine, my children were removed for the first time and placed in foster care.
In the past 4 years, more children under the age of 5 were removed from Florida homes because of substance abuse. In fact, a 38% increase. Jessica's family became another statistic.
My disease brought me to a place where I would use all of the money that I made to buy drugs and not even buy food for my own children. I was at that time relieved that my kids were taken away because I was in such a selfish state of mind. It was one less thing to worry about.
I'm Jesse Hamblin. I'm 26 years old. From 9 to 16, I grew up in 12 different foster homes. My childhood was definitely different. Growing up, my mom, she was a prostitute and a drug addict, and my dad was an alcoholic. A lot of the times growing up with my parents, we were homeless. And that went on until I was about 7 years old, and that's when my dad had left. He just was gone one day and I never saw him again. And I continued to live with my mom up until I was 9 years old when the police took me away from her.
Children entering Florida's foster care jumped 32% as a result of the opioid crisis. That's roughly 2,000 additional children each year.
None of my foster parents were bad to me. I was living in these houses as a kid who needed guidance and parents. They were taking care of my needs, like feeding me and clothing me and giving me shelter and things like that, but they weren't being, a family.
Supposed to be golden years. I love Erie with all my heart. I truly do. But it's not what I would have chosen if given the choice to just have a normal retirement with my husband. I had 4 kids, raised 4 kids. Jennifer is my 3rd youngest child. She's 41. The Jennifer that is alive and breathing right now is an addict, and addicts don't care about their kids.
Hi.
You want to take your pill with orange juice or with your chocolate milk there?
Orange juice.
Orange juice? Okay.
Ari takes medication before school for ADHD. Some mornings are tougher than others.
Come on, bud.
Open your mouth, please. Ari, now. Let's go. Let's go. You have to get ready for school. Come on.
Be a big boy.
Just swallow.
Knock it down.
Swallow.
Knock
It's
it
gum. Swallow.
You can
Swallow
do
the
it.
gum before the teacher sees it.
Okay. Oh.
Oops. Okay. So much for just being able to sit outside, have our coffee, and talk about what we're going to do today.
The medication.
Just doesn't happen.
You talked to me about the collateral damage that Jennifer has left. She has 7 kids, correct?
7 kids, 3 different dads. She does not have legal custody of any of them.
You called DCF 18 times in 1 month about your daughter?
Yes, I did. Every chance I got. Because I knew that I had to do something for these kids. Mom's too busy, strung out. But these kids, they're raising themselves. They have no stability. They have no, not enough food, not enough clothing, not enough anything. And especially attention.
Your husband told me that you literally nearly worked yourself to death when you had 5 of Jennifer's kids here. You almost died trying to take care of your grandkids.
They told my husband, we've tried everything. If she doesn't turn around in the next 7 or 8 hours, then it's in God's hands.
How did you end up with Ari?
Ari was the only one that didn't have a relative other than me. His biological dad was not in a position to take him. It's hard. Many times I feel like I'm tired. I'm frightened that When I think in 4 years I'll be 70 and he's going to middle school, you know, that's right in your face. And I don't want to be a parent. I want to be Gigi.
We're here.
I love you.
Okay.
My youngest daughter didn't even remember that I was her mom because she was removed at such a young age.
In foster care, we frequently are the end of the line for those kinds of family breakdowns. And we've seen more and more children coming into the foster care system because of the cloud of opioids that surrounds their parents and their family.
I'm not dumb because I use drugs. I'm just addicted. I knew what I was doing and I just couldn't stop.
Jessica was arrested on drug and theft charges while her kids were in foster care. After a year and a half in jail, her children were returned to her full time.
I didn't know how to live again after being incarcerated for such a long time, and getting them back so fast was overwhelming, and it was still my choice, but I chose to use again.
Having her kids back proved to be more than Jessica could handle.
It got worse, a lot worse. My kids watched me deteriorate and use at their expense for about 2 years until my own child called DCF to be removed because she couldn't stand it anymore. And I truly believe that she saved my life.
I want to just scream to God that this is not fair. Not only have I lost my daughter, I have to raise her child.
You haven't seen your mother since you were
Since I
9.
was 9.
This opioid crisis is changing family dynamics with a devastating impact on the children of heroin addicts. The foster care system is overwhelmed. According to Community-Based Care of Central Florida, this state spends $100 less per child per year than the national average.
Make him give you good pitches. Oh, there we go, run.
That was a good hit, huh? When he makes contact, he hits it pretty far.
Go to the next base, hurry up.
I want Ari to have as normal a childhood as possible. Good job, Ari. It's good to get out today. It's a gorgeous day with a breeze.
Not yet.
I made a legal commitment to this child when I adopted him. And I told that judge I was going to do my best to raise a happy, healthy, productive child.
My first time read a home run.
That's my mission.
Carol and her husband David fostered their daughter's son Ari for 2.5 years after her opioid-addicted daughter lost custody. Last October, they made the decision to adopt their grandson and become parents again.
Proud of you. You did a great job. I want him to grow up thinking it's normal to go to baseball practice and to go to church. Most days I can just put one foot in front of the other and just keep going. And if I have my little mini breakdowns, and then I gather myself together and keep going, because that's what I have to do. The support group that I belong to a few. The addict's mom is the one that I found, grandparents raising grandchildren, and I saw how many of us are out there fighting this.
The grandparents out there that are doing this all over again, we need to support them as a society, and we need to support them as immediate family members as well, because they're struggling financially, they're low on energy. It affects all relationships in that family.
I want to just scream to God that this is not fair. It's not fair that not only have I lost my daughter. I have to raise her child.
Growing up, being a kid who has their parents choose drugs over them, that's already pretty damaging as a child to grow up that way. Then going from foster home to foster home, family doesn't pass you on to pass you on to pass you on. It really starts to create underlying problems that you're not even really aware of. I was always very distant from people, and I couldn't connect with people, couldn't be intimate with people, I couldn't have relationships with anybody. And as a kid, that's really hard. And it was hard enough for me when I was 16 that I ran away.
Most foster children find a stable living arrangement in the first year, but from ages 9 to 16, Jesse lived in 12 different foster homes. Finally, at 16, he gave up and decided he would rather be on his own.
I just ended up with a lot of anger and hatred and sadness and sorrow and loneliness. I had all of these emotions and all of these just things wrong with me inside. For me, it was easier to deal with those things by myself on the streets when I was 16 than it was to continue to live in foster care. This is where I used to come every night to go to sleep. I used to come over here to get my sleeping bag, which I stored in a trash bag along with the rest of my belongings. And I'd bring my sleeping bag right over here behind this building, and I'd lay it out, and I'd go to sleep, and that's what I did every night for a very long time. I was 16 when I started using hard drugs. And from 16 to 24, that was my life. I used drugs and lived on the streets off and on.
Adverse childhood experiences, things that happen in your childhood, you have a very high likelihood of experiencing emotional problems, mental health problems, and substance abuse because of things that happened in your childhood.
You haven't seen your mother since you were 9.
I was 9. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember her doing drugs? Do you have memories
Yeah,
of this?
I have visual memories of her using drugs in front of me. And you know, like I said, she was a prostitute, and visually those things were happening in front of me as well. Absolutely, I definitely remember that. How you doing? I just didn't care about anything. Nobody cared about me. I don't have any family. I don't have anything like that. Like, nothing matters. So I just didn't care.
At 24, Jesse went to Central Care Mission, a rehab center in Orlando.
He resented being here just like we were another foster care place, some place that he had to be.
I was just kind of just doing what I was doing, you know, just to not be out on the streets.
Looking back on it now, there's nothing more important to me in my world, in my life, than my kids. I'll tell you, both times when my kids were removed, the feeling that I had immediately was one of relief. Is a disease of selfishness.
How you could be so into the drug that you'll give up your children and your dignity and your life in order to get the next shot of the drug. And the answer is that it's an illness. Addiction is an illness.
Recovery works if you work it, and that you can come back from this. It is a hard fight.
Finding a free or affordable recovery center is hard. Factor in disputes with insurance companies, centers with no empty beds. The wait for addicts can stretch for weeks. Jessica's wait lasted more than 2 weeks, and that was after going through the approval process to get on the waiting list.
A lot of them have to go back to where they were living prior to going into treatment, and that's like sending them right back to using again.
You've mourned your daughter the last 26 years, basically.
That's what I would tell my daughter. I will see you on the other side someday.
This is the bed right here. I guess you could say this is where my life changed. This is where I overdosed.
The success rate for a drug addict hovers between 40 to 60%. For a heroin user, that drops to 20%. For many addicts on the path to success, family is a motivator. But for others, it takes an overdose to scare them into recovery.
So is this is the bed right here. I guess you could say this is where my life changed. This is where I overdosed last February.
Jesse found himself homeless after foster care failed him. He finally found refuge at Central Care Mission, but it didn't help him escape his addictions. While there, he overdosed on heroin, and paramedics tried twice, but failed to revive him with Narcan.
So that's when they took me to the hospital. And I don't remember any of that. I just remember when I'd used the drugs, and then I woke up about a day later in the ICU with a tube down my throat. And I almost died. I never overdosed before, and that was enough to just scare me away from everything. When I left the hospital, I made the decision at that point that I wanted to live my life, that I didn't want to die. God has filled my heart with love, joy, and hope, and that's where true change starts.
2 weeks after his overdose, everybody's like, what's up with Jesse? He's changed.
I've never felt this good in my life, ever. I've never had hope. I've never felt happy. I've never just enjoyed what I have in my life. I get up, I have a car, I have a bank account, I can go to work, I have friends, I can do as I want, I can buy things that I want, I buy things that I need, I have a plan for the future. It's wonderful, it's great. Have a great day.
My children were removed April 20th of 2016. I chose to continue using drugs until February 1st of 2017.
Jessica's daughters remain in foster care as she works with DCF on a transition plan.
When your children are removed and put into foster care, you're given what's called a case plan, and it's basically a list of tasks that you have to complete in order to be reunified with your children. I have completed every single one of my tasks. It's an amazing accomplishment to be where I'm at today. I get to see my kids. It's amazing. They're ready to come home. I'm ready to bring them home.
26 years of drug abuse. I've come to terms with a lot of it. It still can make me cry. The loss that you feel. Because she's gone. She's gone. It would take a miracle to bring her back. What she's done to her body, what it's done to her mind, and we're losing children every day. Every day we're losing children to drugs.
64,000 people dying last year is an epidemic. If we were in a war and 64,000 people were dying, there would be so much outrage, or we would be completely mobilized as a nation to win that war.
We need to save these children. Yes, we need a solution to this addiction and these opiates that have affected so many people's lives. But that takes a long time. It'll take a long time to get laws changed.
You've mourned your daughter the last 26 years, basically.
Probably the last 5 or 10 have been rough. I still wait. Every day I wake up and I wonder, is today going to be the day that I get the phone call? That's what I would tell my daughter. I will see you on the other side someday. I can't do this anymore. I just can't.